In the last video, we got the foundation of our alerts in place. In this video, we're going to implement a loading spinner screen, for when the network is slow and you want to let the user know, like, hey, this screen is loading. Now, as of iOS 14, there is no SwiftUI native spinner view. If you're watching this in iOS 15 or iOS 16, I bet this is going to come pretty soon. Seems like a pretty obvious candidate for something to get in there quickly. But for now, we still have to go down to UIKit, which means we got to do UIView representable. I didn't say UIView controller representable, UIView representable. So it's basically the same thing, but a small little tweak that you'll see here. Okay, so in appetizers here, Command N for a new file. We'll call this LoadingView, because we're going to combine our UIView representable and the actual loading view because it's super simple in the same file. And I'll tell you why when we're done here. So again, LoadingView, hit create. We need to import SwiftUI for sure. And then we want to create a struct called activity indicator. And this is going to conform to UIView representable because we don't need a whole view controller. We just want this view. And then just like last time, it's going to say we do not conform. So hit fix. Remember last time we had to do the type alias. What type of UI view is this going to be? It's going to be UI activity indicator view that you see right there. And then now when I hit Command B, remember this was like the two-step process. Now it's going to say I don't conform. Hit fix. Cool. Now I get the protocol stubs that I wanted with the it returns the UI activity indicator view. It has my update view all filled in with the type. So now we can get rid of the type alias. Again, I'm going quick because this is a review. I think we've done this 3 times now. Again, the only difference is it's just a UI view representable, not a UI view controller representable. So again, the update UI view is just an empty implementation. But here in make UI view, just like last time we had to actually make our UI view controller, well, now we're going to make our UI view. So let's say let activity indicator view equals UI activity indicator view. We're going to initialize it with a style. And the style we want is .large, right? You can do .medium. It's fine. We're going to do .large. We want this a nice big fat spinner here. And then we can customize this a little bit more. We don't want to make it gray. We want to make it our green color, our brand primary color. So I can do activity indicator view .color equals, and you see we had color with the name. Now, here's where we're going to fix this real quick, right? Because I don't want to have to type out brand primary every time. If I have a typo, it's not going to work, right? We don't want to keep repeating these strings. So right now, well, let's actually finish this so Xcode doesn't give me errors. Activity indicator view .start animating, right? So when this gets created, it's going to start animating, and then return activity indicator view. So again, all we did was we created the view here with the large style. We set the color, and as you're seeing my error, right, we're in UIKit, right? UIKit just doesn't have color, right? It's got to be UI color, and then UI color has to be, named with the string, right? So anyway, we're gonna fix this, right? Because I don't want to type brand primary, and then we animate the activity indicator, and then we return that, right? Remember, the make UI view or make UI view controller is what replaces the body variable on our view, right? Just to be clear about that. So now let's go refactor our color out a bit. So again, click on appetizers, Command N, and we're going to do project organization soon because you can see this is starting to get ridiculous. Let's call this color plus ext. We're going to build an extension for color, and that's how I usually name my extensions. Whatever the object is plus ext, and then I usually have an extensions folder. Again, project organization coming soon. So let's import SwiftUI, and we're actually going to do this 2 ways. We're going to do an extension on just color, right? Just color, remember, is the SwiftUI color, not the UIKit color. And remember, we're in UIKit currently for activity indicator. So our extension here, we're going to say static let brand primary equal, and then we're going to initialize the color with the name brand primary. And then here we're going to do another extension on UI color. This just covers our UIKit bases, and basically the same thing, just the UIKit version. Static let brand primary equal UI color, and then just like we just did, right? Named, and we'll copy and paste this just to make sure we don't mess that up here. So named brand primary. Do a Command B, make sure we're good. Okay, so now if you remember in our tab view, appetizer tab view way back in the beginning, we did accent color, brand primary. And now we can fix this and change that. But to be sure, let's search for it, right? Let's be safe here. So hit this search button in the Finder. We're going to type brand primary, just to make sure we get them all. All right, so appetizer tab view, that's the first one. Cool. So instead of color, brand primary, we're going to do dot brand primary, right? Because we made an extension on color, Now it's much easier and nicer to read. So assets, cool. I'm not going to change that. Loading view, right? Okay, cool. Instead of UI color brand primary, we can do UI color dot brand primary to get that color now. And where else do we have it? Okay, in our extension, yep, that's where we just created it. Okay, cool. So we have all the instances of brand primary now refactored into, the colors, right? And you would do this for a lot of the colors you use in your app. Brand primary is the only color we're going to use now, but that was a little side adventure on refactoring out our colors. So now that we have our activity indicator all set up, formatted, ready to go, now I just need to use this activity indicator view in some sort of view that we want to present when we're loading. Okay, so we're going to create that right here. And this is what I meant by I keep these in the same file. So we're going to do struct loading view, and that conforms to view. Right now we're in Swift UI right now. So that is a var body of some view. Okay, so now we're just a typical Swift UI view setup. We haven't returned anything yet, so it's yelling at us. So what we want in our loading view is just a white screen in light mode, a black screen in dark mode. So we're going to use system background as the color. So we just want that as the background and then the spinner on top of that. So we're going to need a Z stack, right? The bottom of the Z stack is our color background. On top of the Z stack is our spinner. Okay, so Z stack. And again, the bottom is the color. And we're going to do dot system background. So again, system background will be white in light mode, black in dark mode. And we do want to make sure we do dot edges, ignoring safe area, dot all, because if we don't ignore the safe area, our background's not going to go up to the status bar, and it's not going to go to the home indicator at the bottom. So we want to make sure we fill the entire screen. Okay, so that's the base layer of our Z stack. So on top of our Z stack, all we got to do now is just do activity indicator, right? And create a new activity indicator view. And that's it for our loading view. Again, the background color, activity indicator on top. When this gets called, it's going to call make UI view, which is going to initialize this activity indicator view with a style of large. We're going to set the color to brand primary, and we're going to start animating. Okay, great. Now let's use this loading view. So in our appetizer list view here, I now want to make this entire thing a Z stack. And the reason being is because I want to basically put my loading view on top of everything when it's loading and then remove it when it's not. Okay, so wrap this navigation view in a Z stack. And then I'll copy and paste this whole navigation view, Command X, Command V, I should say cut and paste, not copy paste. And then I actually want to move this alert onto my Z stack. I want that to be on the root view, if you will. Before our navigation view was the root view, now the Z stack is. Okay, so if you look at our Z stack, remember the Z stack is the layers, the view hierarchy. Well, right now the bottom layer of our Z stack is our navigation view that holds the list. Well, what I want to put on top of that is the loading view, but only when it's loading. So I want to do something like this, right? Like if is loading, now I show my loading view, right? And that way, if it's not loading, the loading view never shows up. So I need this Boolean of is loading, okay? So let's go to our view model to put that on, because that relates to our network call, correct? So back to our appetizer list view model. Man, we really need to organize this stuff. I'm having trouble finding that. Again, soon. Okay. So here is our network call, right? This get appetizers. Okay, so we know we need to work with this. Well, first I need that is loading Boolean. So at published, right? Because we want to let our appetizer list view know when this changes, because we want to redraw. So var is loading, and that is a Boolean. We'll just say equals false for right now, because right, the default state is we're not loading, it equals false. So before we go any further, right, we created that Boolean back in our appetizer list view. Here we have it now, except it is view model dot is loading. Okay, so now we're good. We've connected that. Now we just need to go back to our view model and actually flip this Boolean at the right times. Okay, so basically, as soon as we call get appetizers, we want to set is loading equal to true, right? So as soon as this function gets called, that's going to get flipped to true. And then what's going to happen on our appetizer list view is this is going to get redrawn. We're going to go into this if statement because now we are loading, and then our loading view is going to show, and it's right on top of the Z stack. So just imagine like our loading view getting smacked on top of our list is essentially what's happening. And then what's going to happen here back in our view model, we need to flip this to false when we're done loading. So when are we done loading? Here in when we're going to the main thread, because this triggers a UI update, so we want to make sure we're on the main thread for this, we can do is loading equals false. And this is basically as soon as we get back a result. We don't really care if the result is a success or a failure. We're done loading, right? Whether it was good or bad, we're done loading. So here we flip this back to false. And then again, what happens is this changes, it publishes its change in our appetizer list view. This is going to say, okay, cool. Is loading is now false. It's going to redraw, and then it's not going to go into this if statement because is loading is false. So therefore our loading view will not get put on top and you won't see it. Okay, hopefully that all made sense. Let's see this in action. So run it on the simulator. You're probably not gonna see it because it'll be too fast. Okay, you saw it for a split second. Now let me use my network link conditioner. If you don't know what that is, I'm not gonna derail this video and teach you how to do that. I just did a video on my YouTube channel recently. I'll link to that in the description because many of you may already have this. But in your system preferences, here next to my Xbox 360 controller, I have my network link conditioner. And this is basically, I can turn it on and you see very bad network. And you see my little menu item up here. This tells me my network link conditioner is on. So basically I'm slowing down my Wi-Fi intentionally so I can test, bad network connections. So let's run this again and test the bad network. You'll see how slow this goes with my network link conditioner, right? So there's our spinner. It's going for a while because our network sucks. We're simulating that. Maybe you're in a spot you don't have to simulate that, who knows? But now you saw our spinner in action and you can see that flow that I talked about. I'm gonna run it one more time. Right? As soon as we call get appetizers, it redraws and our spinner shows. And then as soon as we get a result back from those get appetizers, our variable gets published, we listen to that, we see the change, we redraw again, and we don't show our loading screen. So now our basic loading screen is in place. That wraps up this video. In the next video, you see all these Asian flank steak images. We're gonna start downloading these images from the server and populating the correct ones.